Hi folks, and welcome to the first ever episode of Just Press Record. My name is Ella Grace and I will be your host. And today, for our first ever episode, we are going to be telling and talking about some of the urban legends that are actually from my hometown in my local area, which would be the mountains of Western North Carolina. Now, I live closest to the city of Asheville. I live outside of Asheville, about 15 minutes, and there's so many urban legends in this city, y'all. So many. We are home to the Biltmore House, so that's pretty cool. So I figured today, since a large part of my personal audience on TikTok, on Instagram is all locals, I thought today we would be telling some creepy stories from here locally in Asheville. I have narrowed them down to 10 different stories that we're going to talk about today. But first off, I want to introduce the podcast. So a lot of you guys might know me from TikTok and from my tiny house content that I post on TikTok, or from my collaboration with Tiny House Giant Journey. I've always wanted to start a podcast, and I like to run my mouth. I talk a lot, so I figured what better way to run my mouth than to start my own podcast. Just Press Record is going to be about, like I said, just pressing record. My goal is eventually to hopefully never be sitting here alone again, but I want to invite people on to talk about their stories. My motto is, this podcast is for the people, by the people. So, after today, there will be a Google form link in my bio on Instagram and on TikTok. You can find it there. And it will be a Google form link for you guys to be able to apply to come co-host an episode with me. So, without further ado, let's get started. I did want to mention that I did ask you guys to submit responses, and I cannot find that file anywhere. I don't know what happened to it. I don't understand. You might see my dog wandering around. I was really hoping he'd chill out for the episode, but it looks like that's just not going to happen. So, hey buddy, this is Mocha Bean, everyone. Say hi. All right. He has to be on top of me at all times, so. Without further ado, I also would like to mention that I did not write any of these stories. These are all stories that I found online. This is, in particular, the blog Uncorked Asheville, so credit to them. I'm reading your article. All right, so the first urban legend that we have to talk about today would be the urban legend of Bigfoot. Bigfoot's a big deal around here, all right? People talk about him quite often. If you're going to talk about North Carolina cryptids, you are almost obligated to start with the one and only Bigfoot. Of course, it would be disingenuous to say that Bigfoot has its roots on the east coast of the U.S., but there have been over 100 reported sightings in North Carolina, so perhaps it vacations here frequently. In any case, this is not an insignificant amount of cases and near misses. It probably goes without saying that Bigfoot is reported to be a large, ape-like creature that roams its forests in North America. Bigfoot is one of the world's most famous creatures, with debate as to its existence still raging on today. Adding fuel to the fire is the fact that there is just so much evidence that supposedly proves Bigfoot is real, including almost 1 minute of notoriously blurry video footage taken by civilians in 1967. I wish it would go into a little more detail about some of the sightings, but it's okay. I have personally never had an experience with Bigfoot, but I did have a guy one time. He went to my church, and he told me a story about a Bigfoot sighting. He said that he was sitting on his back porch really late at night one night, and a really big creature, he could hear him going through the woods, and he swears up and down it was Bigfoot. A lot of us around here have those stories. You know, we're in the mountains in Appalachia, so there's a lot of creepy stuff that happens here. Oh my gosh, this is actually so funny. I was literally just at Lake Norman this past weekend for my brother's fishing tournament. This is actually funny. This is called the Monster of Lake Norman. I've never heard this. All right. Head out to Lake Norman near Charlotte, and you might hear tales of the Lake Norman Monster. This is, so interesting to me. Just like its Scottish counterparts in Loch Ness, the Lake Norman Monster is a beast that has reportedly been sighted by locals both on and near the water. And just like Nessie, the Loch Ness The monster of Lake Norman is known locally as Normie. There are different accounts of what species Normie belongs to. Some believe it to be a large alligator. Others think Normie is an oversized catfish or a sturgeon. No matter which accounts you hear, the one thing they all have in common is that Normie is a very large creature and possibly one of the largest North Carolina monsters around. Some part of the legend is linked to the fact that the Lake Norman is man-made. It was created by flooding and submerging a town that contained multiple houses, churches, farms, and fields. All of it Normie's territory. That's so interesting. I did not know that about Lake Norman. I wonder if, like, you went deep under the water, if you could find some of those, like, houses and churches, farms, and fields. That's so interesting. Many of those buildings are still fully built under the water. Divers frequently swim down there to explore them, possibly catching glimpses of Normie in the process. That literally just answered my question. That's so cool. All right, that's actually pretty cool. And then it says, if you're hoping to catch the monsters near Asheville, try these WNC lakes. We don't know if there are any in North Carolina urban legends behind them yet, but they're still worth a visit. That's so cool. I had no idea that Lake Norman was like basically like covering an underground city. Like, that's so cool. I might have to do more research into that. Hang on. Oh my gosh. It says here, the submerged history includes two notable communities, Long Island Mill and Village. One of the most famous sunken areas. Built in the 1880s, this mill village had homes, stores, and its own post office. While some houses were relocated before the flooding, the mill was demolished and its ruins, along with the remaining village foundations, and still rests on the lake bottom. That's so interesting. East Mambo Mill and Village, another 19th century cotton mill community that was completely flooded during the lake's creation, displacing hundreds of workers and their family. Oh, wow, that's like so interesting. Before filling the lake bed, Duke Energy demolished many larger above-ground structures that posed hazards to boaters and relocated cemeteries and standalone graves. You can explore the historical photographs and oral histories of the families who lived there via the Davidson College archives. Anyways, I'm going to go look at some of these images. This is so interesting to me. That's so interesting. I want to go explore this now. What? Okay, anyway, that's a new fun fact for me. Josiah, we if you're watching this video or podcast, we have some exploring to do. All right. Mocha is really concerned about the microphone. He keeps trying to pluck it off my chest here. This next one is called the Boojum. This is another one I've never heard of. Back in the 1900s, an eccentric developer named S.C. Satterthwaite built the Eagle's Nest Hotel high up in the North Carolina's mountains near Waynesville. Now, I have heard of the Eagle's Nest Hotel. Unfortunately, despite being a high-class establishment, it was plagued by the appearance of a strange and unusual creature. This being nicknamed the Boojum by the locals, was said to be 7 feet tall, covered in shaggy hair all over. Remind you of anyone? That's what it says. And had two particular habits. First, it was exceedingly fond of gems and said to be plentiful in the North Carolina mountain area. Second, it loved to spy on young ladies trying to bathe in rivers and lakes of the area. Could you imagine bathing or like swimming in a lake or river with your friends, with your girlfriends, and you just see a 7 foot tall thing? Come on. No. According to the legend, most ladies ran away in fear when they spied the face of the Boojum staring at them, but one in particular did not flee. A girl named Annie, or Maggie in some versions, instead recognized the sadness of a lonely soul in his eyes, fell in love, and married the Boojum instead. What? That's so interesting. What makes this one of our favorite urban legends of North Carolina is the way that Annie and the Boojum communicated. By hooting at each other to know where they were, we got word of hootenanny. We got the word hootenanny. That's so funny. I didn't know that was the origin. That's so funny. It's almost certainly untrue, but we love the idea. That's almost certainly untrue, but we love the idea. Hello. That's hilarious. Close to Waynesville, head to Maggie Valley if spooky and abandoned North Carolina places catch your interest. Here you will find the remnants of Ghost Town in the Sky, as well as a tragic plane crash site. That is like a famous abandoned like part of town. Now they do have a lot of security and whatnot, and it's actually pretty hard to get up there and explore. But there is in Maggie Valley, like you can see it from the road, an abandoned. I think it's a theme park. Hang on, we're gonna look it up. Ghost Town in the Sky, formerly Ghost Town Village, is a formal Wild West themed amusement park in Maggie Valley, North Carolina. Sitting atop Buck Mountain at the elevation of 4,650 feet, it was once a booming 1960s attraction. It is currently permanently closed, abandoned, and heavily monitored for trespassing. The park closed down permanently in 2002 after a major chairlift malfunction. Since then, it has passed through multiple owners and investors, all whom struggled with the financial difficulties, mountain landslides, and structural damage. This property has been embroiled in ongoing ownership lawsuits. That's crazy. Visiting the site. The park remains entirely closed to the public today because it is a private property suffering from decay and despair. The Maggie Valley Police strictly enforce a no trespassing policy. While you cannot hike or explore the abandoned structures, you can read more about its history on Romantic Asheville. I wonder if anybody has actually gone and explored up there. That will be something I research later. Anyways, that is very true. It's a very famous legend around here. There's been lots of people who have tried to sneak up there, and they get in huge trouble. All right, next we have the mermaids of the Cape Fear River. Do I believe in mermaids? I don't know. I'm a skeptic to any of this kind of stuff. I'm a huge skeptic, mostly because I've never had really like a paranormal experience that was just like blatantly obvious, like it was a ghost. But I don't want to wish that upon myself. Anyway, the mermaids of Cape Fear River. Oh gosh, I'm scrolling too much. Roughly 30 miles southwest of Raleigh, NC, where Hall River and Deep River meet and combine to form Cape Fear River, lies our next place of NC folklore, Mermaid Point. It was near here where in the 18th century, a man named Ambrose Ramsey decided to build a tavern in the small community called Lockville. Patrons of Ramsey's Tavern would walk home past a long white sandbar in the middle of the river confluence. Some reported sightings of mermaids there. Witnesses believe that the beautiful sea creatures had come up from the Atlantic to wash the salt out of their hair. Ramsey had hoped that the burgeoning, that's a word, I don't know, Lockville town would thrive, and therefore so would his business. Sadly, that was not the case. A flood destroyed the tavern in the late 1800s. Oh no! And coincidentally, that's when sightings of the mermaids stopped. But if you love North Carolina folklore, meet tipsy, scary, and fun mermaids on our sister site Mermaid Books reading list. This one seems interesting. This one's like kind of boring. If you believe in mermaids, like go check it out. It is sad that tavern was washed away, I guess. But the sighting stopped in the late 1800s. Interesting. All right, next. The Beasts of Bladenboro. I have heard about this one. And anytime around here somebody sees a panther, this is like brought up. All right. This one, it says trigger warning, animal deaths. So, trigger warning. For one winter in 1953 and 54, the town of Bladenboro was beset by a string of mysterious attacks in what is undoubtedly one of the scariest North Carolina cryptids around. Oh, I'm excited to read the actual story. I've heard lots of versions of this story, but I'm excited to hear their version of the story. Beginning on December 29th, local townspeople began to find the bodies of animals, dogs, rabbits, even a goat that had viciously been mauled and or crushed by an unknown creature. Ooh. Keeping Mocha safe. Most mysteriously, some of them appeared to have had almost all of their blood drained. Nor. This lasted a couple of weeks, with some witnesses attesting that they had caught glimpses of a creature like either a bear or a panther with a long tail and a cat-like face. One chilling account even described a noise like a baby crying as it passed by in the bushes. No one to this day has been able to agree on exactly what species the beast of Bladenboro was, or whether it is still at large today. That's so crazy. So my parents built a log cabin. It was like their dream home. I was very small. I was a baby when they were building it, right? And they saw a panther while they were building it. And I'd like, that's just like a crazy, crazy thing. Like, this has been talked about a lot. This story is told a lot. Like, it's one of the campfire stories, and people add a lot of stuff to it, but still cool. Still cool to hear. Oh, next we have the Wilmington sea serpent. I've never heard of this one. The city of Wilmington has rich history, but one of the oldest parts of it concerns the legend of Willie the Wilmington sea serpent. This is so funny. Way back before the USA was born, in 1524, the Italian explorer Giovanni da Verrazzano was exploring the Cape Fear region of the East Coast. In his journal, he wrote of a great snake that one of his men reportedly saw resting on the waves near the shore. No. There were further recorded instances, including those by the Earl of Wilmington in 1732, as well as a Union soldier and naturalist James Calden in 1865. What I find really interesting about that is a lot of soldiers in war and whatever, if they're writing about it, I sometimes have to believe it's true. Like, if a soldier who is like fighting in battle is writing about a creepy creature he saw, I'm gonna believe it, okay? There were Calden told locals who reported a gray creature 40 feet long and 4 feet wide, which they named after the town. If Willie is still around today, it would be around 500 years old, making it one of the oldest North Carolina cryptids on this list. Wilmington is not only famous for its massive North Carolina monsters, it is also home to the largest production studio east of California, where many terrific films are made. That's cool. I've never heard of that one. Interesting. Okay. That one was kind of fun. All right. Next, we have Ulagu. Interesting. It's a yellow jacket. Oh! It says this North Carolina folklore is part of Cherokee legend. That means it's going to be good. I love anything that is like, has to do with Native American people. I love it. Mostly because I do have a little bit of Native American in my blood. I think this stuff is very interesting. Anyways, I digress. There was once a great yellow jacket that roamed the skies of Nantahala River in modern-day Macon County. That's crazy! The creature was named Ulagu. It was as large as a house and could snatch children up and carry them away. What? That's scary. In order to trap Ulagu, the local people tried to lure it with food. First with a squirrel, then a turkey, then a deer ham, but Ulagu simply carried them all away. Eventually, they used a yearling deer, which was heavy enough to slow Ulagu down. The people tracked it to a cave filled with thousands of other smaller yellow jackets. There they set fires and engulfed Ulagu in smoke, but the smaller yellow jackets outside the cave escaped and spread about the world. Today the cave is still known as I'm gonna butcher that. TSGAGUN''YI, meaning where the yellow jacket was. That's crazy. I've never heard this story before. It's like the origins of the yellow jackets. I want to Google this. Ulagu. I hope I'm saying that right. Cherokee folklore. Ooh! Ooh! These pictures are scary. There's not a lot of pictures, but that's still super interesting. All right. The Sunshine Woman. This one's in Hendersonville. Hendersonville's right down the road from Asheville. What began as the last request of a dying woman has become one of the most intriguing North Carolina urban legends of recent times. Lila Maud Davidson Hansel was a schoolteacher and the wife of a powerful judge who sadly developed terminal tuberculosis and passed away in 1915 at the age of 54. Before she died, she requested of her husband that she not be buried in darkness. That's super interesting. In order to honor her last wishes, the judge ordered the construction of a large above-ground vault in Oakdale Cemetery in Hendersonville. To make sure she was not in darkness, the vault had thick squares of prism glass as a cover so that the sunshine could always enter. Oh, that's kind of sweet. That's kind of sweet. I mean, creepy, like weird, but sweet. After her internment, locals reported seeing strange occurrences at the grave, including seeing Lila's skeleton smiling, wreathed in flowers, or moving out of the way of shadows cast by nearby trees. Eventually, the glass was covered in concrete in order to give Lila's body peace from snooping tourists. Hendersonville is a 40-minute drive from Asheville and is a fantastic day tripping option filled with museums and nearby historical sites, especially for book lovers. Yes, this is very true. I love Hendersonville. It's such a cute little town. Come on, Mocha Beam. Come on. It's a little less populated than Asheville, but still close by. I just love Hendersonville. This is like such a cool story. It's kind of sweet, but I'm really glad that they covered it in concrete because of snooping tourists. Like, I could not imagine. Like, oh, that's cool but creepy at the same time. All right. Haunted Highland Hospital. Anything having, like, I don't know why when it comes to hospitals, like, I just love the stories that come out of them. Anyways, Haunted Highland Hospital. Not many North Carolina urban legends can claim to involve a famous literary figure, but if you travel to Asheville, you will find the final resting place of Zelda Fitzgerald. The famous writer was staying at Highland Hospital in Asheville's historic Montford district. That's crazy. I went to middle school at Montford North Star, which is in the Montford district. That's a little crazy. In 1948, when on one fateful night, a fire broke out in the building's main kitchen. Due to the flammable dumbwaiter system, allegedly, the flames spread so quickly that soon the entire building was engulfed, and Zelda, along with 8 other people, perished in the fire. That's awful. Today, many claim that the former grounds of the hospital, which burned to the ground, are haunted. Eyewitnesses claim to have seen a woman in white with Zelda's description wandering amongst the trees nearby. Perhaps you will see her as you read the plaque dedicated to her on the hospital's former grounds. Today, Montford is home to Shakespeare in the Park, and if you take a haunted Lazoom ghost tour, you might just see Zelda. Or if you love North Carolina ghost stories, head to Riverside Cemetery, which is known for paranormal activity. Thomas Wolfe and O. Henry are interned there. That's so interesting. Wait. Highland Hospital. Oh, interesting. There's part of the... Oh, that bill... Oh, yes. That's so funny. I have literally, like, driven past this building a million times and didn't realize what it was. That's so funny. I didn't realize that this was, like, the remnants of a hospital. Asheville Terrors. That's crazy. I was hoping there'd be some more pictures. Anyways, that's super cool. I'm gonna probably, like, go explore that. I want to go. That's super cool. Okay. Anyways. All right. Next, we have the Blood Shower of Chatham County. Interesting. I've never heard of this one either. In perhaps one of the most bizarre and inexplicable events of North Carolina urban legends, we must look at the night of February 25th, 1884. While walking home in Chatham County, Mrs. Kit Lassiter, Yes, Mrs. K. Lassiter, Lord help, heard what she thought was about of heavy rainfall. When she checked the sky, it was clear. Upon looking at the ground, however, she found that she was covered in what she described as a shower of pure blood in an area some 60 feet in circumference. Several neighbors who also checked the scene confirmed Miss Lassiter's version of events, and a professor from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill even collected samples. Okay, that makes me believe it. Genuinely, if there's several eyewitnesses and he collected samples, that's crazy. He determined that the red liquid was indeed blood and chillingly could offer no explanation at all. Oh, imagine just walking home and just blood pouring on, like, that is wild. All right, what are your favorite North Carolina urban legends, and which North Carolina cryptids capture your attention most? This was, like, so fun. I love it. I do want to talk about one urban legend that is not in here, and that is the Helen's Bridge. This story is probably, in my opinion, one of the most famous, like, paranormal or ghost stories in my hometown. Everybody knows this story. If you visit Asheville, you can indeed go to Helen's Bridge. I've been there many, many times. But I'm going to read you the story of Helen's Bridge, because I feel like you can't have this episode without talking about Helen's Bridge. All right, the lore of Helen, the origin. The bridge was built to provide carriage access to the Zealandia Mansion, a mountaintop castle constructed by Philip Henry. Legend claims Helen either lived or worked there. The tragedy. According to the urban legend, Helen's daughter died in a fire or near the mansion. Overcome by insurmountable grief, Helen took a rope and hanged herself from the bridge. The bridge isn't just a modern ghost story. It was mentioned in Asheville's own Thomas Wolfe in his 1929 classic novel, Look Homeward, Angel. The hauntings and the legend. Car troubles. The most popular part of the myth involves visitors turning off their cars under or near the bridge at night. Legend says that if you call out Helen's name, your car won't start back up, your headlights will flicker, or your battery will mysteriously drain. Now, I have tried this with my friends, okay? I tried this with my friends. Nothing happened, but we didn't call out Helen's name. I didn't realize that we had to call it out. Anyways, sightings and sounds. Visitors and ghost hunters have reported hearing anguished screams, witnessing a shadowy figure in white, or even seeing a figure hanging from the bridge itself. The dare. Some lore suggests that if you walk across the bridge backward 3 times and whisper, "Helen, what are you doing?" her spirit will reply, "Nothing." All right, fact versus fiction. While the spooky tale has been a staple of Asheville folklore for decades, very true, local historians and city officials have found no official records or newspapers archives documenting the fire or the suicide of a woman named Helen at the bridge. The legend has nonetheless cemented the location as a premier local destination for thrill seekers. I believe it. I believe Helen's Bridge is haunted. And the only reason why I do is because I am a person who very much, like, if I, like, the energy, like, I can feel, I very much pay attention to energy and how, like, the energy in my surrounding areas. And every single time I've been to Helen's Bridge, even though I've not personally had any, like, sightings or anything, now I've never walked across it, but anytime I've ever been to Helen's Bridge, there's just this, like, dark feeling that I get, and I just never can explain it. It's so interesting. But yes, it is probably, like, in my opinion, one of Asheville's biggest, ghost stories. The last one I did want to give a special mention to is the legend of the Pink Lady. This one stems from the Omni Grove Park Hotel, and you cannot convince me that place is not haunted. It has to be. Like, that place is too old to not be haunted by at least, like, 30 spirits. In my opinion, like, there's just... Anyways, I'm going to read you, this is just, like, a quick little story. The legend of the Pink Lady. Who she is, a 1920s socialite who was visiting as a hotel guest. The incident: she fell 2 stories from the balcony on the 5th floor down to a hard tile floor of the Palm Court. It remains unknown whether it was an accident, a jump, or foul play. That's even worse. Activity: she is generally considered a kindly, mischievous ghost. Guests and staff have reported doors opening on their own, electronics turning on and off, cold spots, rearranged items, or even having their feet tickled while sleeping. Absolutely not! If somebody tickled my feet while I was sleeping. We all dying, okay? Frequent spots: she is known to linger heavily around room 545 in the 5th floor corridors and is frequently seen by young children. That's even worse. The original owner is also supposedly a entity there. Occasionally, the spirit of Edwin Wiley Grove, or the original hotel manager, Harvey Parker, is rumored to roam the 10th floor of the main inn, checking up on the property. That's kind of cute. Like, I can't even lie. That's kind of cute. If you're planning a spooky getaway or just a historical trip, that's a great place to go. That's super cool. I've heard a lot of stories about the Grove Park Inn. A lot of stories. Ooh, there's a whole Reddit thread. This was actually so much fun. I want to do more of these. I will probably make this like a little weekly series and just press record. I don't know. I absolutely love anything paranormal or creepy. I tell people I just like to be disturbed. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me for my first ever episode of Just Press Record. If you guys have anything that you would want to talk about, if you want to join me here on the couch, or if you just have a topic that you want to know more of, please let me know in the Google form. It will probably be up tomorrow after I edit all of this and get it ready to go. But anyways, this was so much fun to film. Ella Grace is out.